Do you want to know what a real band score 9 sounds like in a speaking test? Well, you've come to the right place. By the end of this video, you're going to have a perfect example of what a real band score native sounds like. So let's get into it. Hello, my name's Phil and you're watching the IELTS Grind. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a like because we have plenty of really useful videos to help you with your journey preparing for the IELTS exam. So let's get into it and watch this real life example of a speaking test. Come in.
Hi.
Oh, let's just have a seat, please.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, my name's Phil Hawes, and can you tell me your full name, please?
Robyn Sally Jones.
And what shall I call you?
You can call me Robyn.
Okay, Robyn, yeah. Can you show me your identification, please?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself.
Okay.
So let's talk about where you're from.
All right.
Okay. What do you like about your hometown?
Well, I think the most wonderful thing about my hometown is it's how close it is to an international airport because we're really only a 15-minute drive from the Dallas-Fort Worth airport. And so when you have friends coming into town to visit or you need to take a trip somewhere, you just get in the car and you go and you're there like in a heartbeat. I think that's the best thing about my hometown.
What don't you like about your hometown?
I don't like the traffic. The traffic is really bad. 20 years ago, when I was a kid, you know, it wasn't so bad, but through the years, the town's gotten busier and busier and more popular. And now, you know, during the traditional rush hour times, there's just bumper to bumper traffic, and it's just a mess to try to get anywhere.
Is your hometown a good place for young people?
Not particularly a good place for young people. I mean, I know cities that are far more exciting. I mean, I come from a suburb of Dallas, but I think that if a kid, like if a teenager wants to go to a movie or something, that's great. But if you're interested in any other kind of niche hobby, you're probably not going to be able to find it there.
So what do people do for fun in your hometown?
Well, like I said, go to the movies. That's a huge American pastime. So aside from that, for fitness lovers, you can go jogging on the hiking or the running paths. You can, gosh, I don't know. It's like, for me, I just like to read, and so there's plenty of bookstores for people who are more introverted. And for people who like clubbing, I mean, they go into Dallas and do that party, you know.
Let's talk about crying. Do you enjoy watching shows that make you cry?
Not really. I think I much prefer comedy or things that make me laugh. I think if a show has a moment where you tear up a little bit at a really, really emotional part, that's okay. But I don't like shows that really try to, you know, make you cry.
When was the last time you cried very hard?
Gosh, I don't remember. I think it was actually when I was watching a sad movie, interestingly enough. But it wasn't a really hard cry, you know.
Is it important that your boyfriend cries in front of you?
I think that it's not like a necessity, like, oh, you know, it's something that I need is a boyfriend who cries in front of me. But if someone doesn't feel comfortable expressing emotions, that's a problem.
Okay. Sorry, I'm going to laugh at this one. Are you good at making people cry?
I hope not. No. I genuinely, I hope I'm not, you know, good at making people cry. I think that's not a useful skill to have.
Okay, let's talk about hiking.
Okay.
Did you have to hike when you were at school?
No, never. I drove to school and we walked and we had a flat campus.
Do you often hike now?
To be honest, no. I should because all of my friends enjoy it, but I'm kind of a homebody.
Okay. Have you ever gone on an overnight hike?
Once when I lived in China, we went on an overnight trip to Huangshan, Yellow Mountain, and that was a strenuous trip. It was overnight.
Do you enjoy hiking up mountains?
It depends on the mountain. If it's too steep, I'm a bit lazy. If it's not too steep and not too much of a adventure, then sure.
So now I'm going to give you a topic, and I'd like you to talk about that for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay. Before you start talking, you're going to have 1 minute to think about what you like to say. You can also take some notes during this time. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like you to describe a time you went to the hospital.
Okay.
Okay, so what were you thinking while you were preparing for the part 2? Talk us through your preparation during that minute.
When I saw the topic, describe a time you went to the hospital, the first thing I thought was, okay, I've been to a hospital more than one time, so I had to kind of pick the experience that I had the most memory of.
Yeah.
And this is not the most recent time I went to a hospital, but it's the one that's stuck in my memory. And so that's why I chose that one. Because I know if I picked something that was more recent, like, oh, I went to the hospital because I hurt my eye, it's not going to let me talk for 2 minutes. That's just like a few sentences. So for me, as I was taking my 1 minute, I kind of tried to go back and remember the situation, like almost like I'm seeing it as a movie in my head, right?
Okay, like a story, right?
Like a story,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, that's a good method. Yeah.
And any detail that I had forgotten, I just tried to make it up.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be true. It's just
Yeah.
an English test, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is something that you can use as well. Obviously, Robyn is a native, so she didn't have to think about vocabulary so much. So this is why the story method's good here, because you're sort of just reminding yourself how to link things together. But even as a lower level student, you can still do this. And you can just also think about key vocabulary along the way, and maybe even think about some grammar structures you'd like to use.
True.
Okay, but I still think you did a very good job, even though I think you were a little bit shocked with that topic.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you.
Okay, so remember you've got 1 to 2 minutes to talk about this,
Okay.
and don't worry if I interrupt you. Okay, so I'd like you to start talking now, please.
Okay. Well, more than 10 years ago, when I was living in a small town in China, I had to spend a few days at a hospital. So what happened was, I think I had a kidney infection. That was what the doctor thought. And so he said, okay, you need to spend some time in the hospital. I was totally freaked out. I had no idea what it was going to be like. I was just this like new to China, bright-eyed, terrified girl. So there I was. I had a hospital room, and I had to have a roommate after like the second day. And the most interesting thing was the roommate that I had, definitely. She was a grandmother, like a local lady, and she was so sweet. She was always smiling at me. She didn't speak any English, and I didn't speak any Chinese at that time, but she could just communicate with her smile. And her family visited her a lot, which was really sweet. And her granddaughters would come, and they were always trying to like kind of include me in this family meeting with grandma, even though I was just this stranger in another bed. Whether or not I enjoyed the experience, well, nobody really enjoys being in the hospital, and of course I didn't really enjoy it, but I think that the fact that the grandmother, my roommate, was so sweet, and her granddaughters were so sweet, made it as enjoyable as it possibly could have been. And as for whether or not I found the staff friendly, I didn't speak Chinese, and they didn't really speak much English. This was a small town, but they did their best to be nice to me, and to be gentle, not to wake me up too much, to give me medicine. So all in all, I think it was pretty good. I do remember one funny thing.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay.
Are you feeling better now?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So we were talking about a time that you went to hospital. So let's move on and let's talk about healthcare.
Okay.
Okay. Does your country provide universal healthcare?
No, actually. And that's kind of a famous thing about my country, our healthcare system. It's definitely more run on an insurance basis. So if you do happen to not have any insurance and you find yourself in a serious health situation, or, God forbid you get in a car accident or something, you're kind of in trouble. Yeah.
How can the healthcare in your country be improved?
Oh, there's a lot of ideas people have about that. For healthcare itself, personally, I believe one thing that could be done, among many things, is to educate people more about how to be healthy. The way it is now, often, you go to the hospital, you go to the doctor with a problem, like let's say that you have high blood pressure, and they'll give you medication, which is, great. I mean, that is needed to control the situation. But from secondhand experience, like what I've heard talking to people, the doctors don't really do very much to help you understand, like, how did your blood pressure get so high and what you can do to alleviate the issue.
Should healthcare be universal?
Well, I think it should be. In a perfect world, it should be. I think it's one of the basic rights that people have, to be able to, if you do fall ill or you get into an accident or you have a pre-existing condition, you are able to receive quality care, in a timely manner, not like 6 weeks from now, and you would be able to afford it, ideally.
Let's move on and let's talk about healthcare in society.
Okay.
What benefits does a competent healthcare system provide society?
What benefits does a competent healthcare system provide society? I suppose the first thing is it keeps people, obviously, it keeps people healthy. How does that saying go? Like, if you don't have health, how's it, like, if you don't have health, you don't have anything. You could have all the money in the world, you could have anything you want, but if you're ill or you're in pain all the time, you're not really going to be a productive member of society. It's sad but true. So that's obviously the main benefit, is it helps people stay healthy. Another benefit, I think that's the main thing. All the other benefits go on from that.
Some people say there should be no private insurance providers. What do you think?
Ooh, that's a tough question. There should be no private insurance providers. I don't know that I agree with that. I think if you have the means and the desire for private insurance, I think it should be an avenue open to you. Yeah.
How do you think healthcare services will change in the future?
In the future, it depends if you mean like 10 years in the future, 50 years in the future. I think I'm more interested, I like thinking about it far in the future. I think that one big difference that's going to change the world, like speaking in big future terms, is like I don't know, something about more incorporation of AI into health. It's hard to say because I'm not a health expert, I'm not a future expert, but I'm interested in it. Like, I watched a TED Talk recently about these scientists who've made these tiny, tiny, tiny little robots that can apparently go into the body, and they're trying to find a use for them. But in terms of medical science, like, these little robots might be able to go in and look into you, I don't know, and like diagnose whatever is happening inside of you. And that could be really exciting.
Okay, thank you, Robyn. That brings us to the end of the test.
Okay.
Okay, so how was that? Not too easy, some of those questions.
That's right. Yeah, because obviously I didn't know what questions Phil was going to ask, and so as the questions were coming at me, it was kind of fun in a way. It was like, oh, I'm being interviewed, but it was fun being on this side of the situation, because as an IELTS teacher, you're always, teaching people how to handle themselves in this situation, but you're rarely in this situation yourself.
Yeah, and I think some people might say, okay, you're a native speaker and you're an IELTS teacher, so you're cheating. But that's not the case. To get band score 9, you have to be pretty much the same as a native speaker, yeah? And the fact that you do know a lot about the IELTS is great, because if you're preparing for it, you should know absolutely everything that you can to give yourself a fighting chance, okay? So thanks very much for doing that for us. I think it was excellent. It's going to be very useful for everyone there.
Hope so.
So if you've enjoyed today's video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you've got any questions at all, leave us a comment in the comment section, and we'll see you next time. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Do I respond?
Good
Yeah,
night.
you respond. Is this what it's like being a director? God, no wonder they're so angry all the time.
Was she going to say it back to me?
Yeah, it's a dialogue. Goodness.
I went into the Truman Show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Hi, good afternoon.
And in case I don't see you, good night. Okay, let's do it again.